AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to another edition of The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Typically, we would tell you guys, get down to Joe's Karting today, get your racing in, and have yourself a little bit of left and right-hand turning. But you guys are under a little bit of a renovation right now, taking about a week off and getting some things kind of buttoned up at the track. Oh, yeah. We, we're going to have it's going to look a lot like the same, and we're going to have a few new features when the drivers come back. But, there was a lot of rumors that maybe, we're done for, we're moving. None of that's true. We're anticipating, opening, late this upcoming week. So hey guys, if you got a bachelor outing, a group outing, a corporate outing, whatever, email me directly at buddyj@joeskarting.com. That's BUDDY, letter J, at joeskarting.com, karting with a K. And I can take care of you. Like I said, we're looking at, Wednesday or Thursday. We're just doing some spring cleaning, looking at over the track, stuff like that. Right. And I on your Facebook page earlier this week, you had asked some comments, some suggestions what you guys could change, and I really did love one of them, concession stand. And yeah. I was thinking about it a couple of times about where you guys could put it, because you are limited on space. Any chance that a concession stand could pop up? I mean, it'd be so nice to just grab a hot dog there. It would be nice. There's a lot of expense involved with that, and there's a lot of strategic planning that goes. It's not like you can just go buy a rotisserie, throw in the track there. Yeah, then you got to have something that we have looked at. Yeah. It's something that we have looked at, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's not that we've said no, and it's not that we've said yes. We're keeping our options open at this time. Maybe it's one of those headaches you don't want. One of the funniest things I seen on that thread though was, even vending style junk food would be good. And I'm like, we've had it there for 3 years. Yeah. Like, you can't miss them. It's right next to the pop machine. Yeah. That really cool pop machine, by the way. I love that pop machine. Oh, the little robotic arm. Oh, yeah, it's awesome. It's like cheap redneck entertainment to watch the arm go. I bet you I see guys spend $20 a day in there just to watch a robotic arm go up and down. Oh, yeah, definitely. So you guys will hopefully be back open. You'll be on your Facebook page letting everybody know when you're back open for regular hours. But that's joeskarting.com. You can friend them on Facebook. You can check them out at joeskarting.com. Karting with a K. Get all the information there. A lot has happened in the last week. You think? I have misplaced my voice because I finally got to call a race. Denison, we were down in Crawford County this weekend. How many names did you mess up? A few, but I was thinking about it this time last year, and I was kind of sitting there during intermission as you guys were getting ready for the feature races, thinking about it. This time last year, I couldn't tell you the difference between a stock car and a late model, and a hobby stock and a stock, and a sport car. I mean, I couldn't tell you the difference. I knew what a mod looked like because I stood next to yours several times, but a sport mod and a mod had no idea which the difference was. So, and all the names, like I'm going through them as I'm and it was just so much easier this year because there's a lot of returning drivers to Denison. So, it was a lot easier to say the least this year. You want to talk? But I still screwed up a lot of names. You want to talk 3 or 4 minutes about the first night at Denison? Yeah, let's do. I doubt it was going to be 3 or 4 minutes because there's nothing brief about you and I's conversations. Really quickly, what we're going to talk about in the show today, we're going to talk about the season opener for Denison. Also, your trip to Eagle last night. We're going to talk about Talladega, the result at Talladega for the Aaron's 499. The appeals process. NASCAR went from being a mouthful of teeth to Gumby with the appeal process, in my opinion, and we'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about the race last night at Darlington, the Bojangles Southern 500. Got to be one of my favorite names. Every time I hear the Bojangles Southern 500, I get Mr. Bojangles. In turn 2, we're going to break down a little bit of an opinion segment, if we got time for it. Nationwide drivers and Cup drivers, mixing it down in the Nationwide. I have always been in the opinion that, Cup drivers come down. Give the Nationwide drivers a little bit of love. Give them some extra experience. But I think it might be getting a little bit out of hand. We're going to talk about should Cup drivers be allowed to race down in Nationwide. Turn 3, we're going to talk with Leslie Scouten and Michelle Bade as they're going to be mothers of drivers. Of course, today is Mother's Day. So we wanted to talk to a couple of mothers of drivers and get their experiences. Turn 4, the All-Star race is locked up, and we're also going to be taking your phone calls all morning long, 402-573-0590. I'd like to hear your opinions. One of them, where'd you go and see racing this weekend? Where did you race? We'd like to get a check-in from all the tracks nearby, I-80, Eagle, Butler, Riviera, any tracks in the area.
If it's round and brown and has dirt, call in.
I don't think there was many Iowa tracks running this weekend. They had an enormous amount of rain.
On Friday night.
Wednesday night?
Wednesday through Friday, there were some tracks that closed down, but I know like Shelby County ran last night, Adams County ran last night.
We'd like to hear from you, definitely.
Tonight we have Stewart and Raceway Park running tonight weekly.
I-80, I don't like to give you a lot of credit. You know that.
You think?
But I do have to give you credit where credit's due. When you were talking about, it was on the Front Stretch a couple weeks ago, drivers get pre-registered. Right? It saves everyone a lot of time. One of the biggest issues, and I gotta hand it to the fans at Denison, we didn't get started. We were supposed to hot lap at 7 o'clock. We didn't start actually hot lapping until about, I think it was about 8:15, and the races got started. First race was about 8:35, 8:40, so we're effectively about an hour behind schedule. I know there was issues with the track, and I had issues up in the pit box, or up in the press box, but holy cow, how in the world? I saw drivers still showing up to check in and register at 7:30. When you've known for weeks that green flag racing,
months.
Heat racing starts at 7:30. They talked about it all day on the Facebook page. I am dumbfounded that someone would show up at 7:30 and race.
You say that? Do you know when you go into Denison there on the highway, there's that BP right there on the corner?
Yeah.
We stopped in there to get batteries for my receiver and something to drink. And on the radio up there, they were talking about hot laps at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, hot laps at 7, green flag racing at 7:30.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
No, it's not uncommon to see someone show up, 30 minutes late. They just put them to the back of the heat. The one thing
the thing is, I didn't just see one. I mean, normally, I got there at 4 o'clock, which I got there really early to get all the stuff set up. I wanted to make sure I was prepared, oddly enough. And nobody was there at 6 o'clock. What time did you roll in? I mean, you rolled in a little bit late too.
Are you kidding me? I was one of the first 5 cars at the track.
I know, but I didn't say you weren't one of the first 5 tracks. I said you rolled in late too.
It was 5.
Yeah, that's pretty late for you. Normally you're there. But what I'm saying is that it was abnormally late. Like, there was still a line of people showing up at 7:30 when everyone, in my opinion, should have listened to you and pre-registered, or B, got there early enough to where we wouldn't have had this log jam.
I think there was a combination of things. There's a lot of new drivers, 139 drivers, I believe.
Yeah, but there really wasn't a lot of new drivers, though, is what I'm saying. I mean, there was a lot of drivers I remembered racing. There was probably 20 new drivers, which I apologize. I should step back. Is 20 new drivers
pretty good?
Okay.
It was opening night. The track was rusty. The drivers were rusty. I mean, this is pretty common at the track.
And everyone was rusty.
Yeah, and then down there in the lineup chute, the one thing we were noticing, I went and overlooked one of the ladies. I was like, wait a second, did IMCA change their lineup? And they're like, why do you say that? Well, in one of the Sport Mod heat races, it's got the first 2 rows of heat number 2. There's a car to the inside, no car to the outside. And the last 2 rows, there's a car on the inside and the outside. We're missing the 2 outside guys. So everybody's writing it down and they're walking off. And I was like, whoa, wait, folks. This ain't right.
So they just hadn't filled in the other drivers yet?
Yeah, they had, and it was on a draw. I don't know how they could have made them, and I'm not dogging them, but I was like, how can they screw this up? And there's a draw. So they had to redo the lineups a couple times. And then there was one driver that came down and like, well, it's going to be like, an hour before the lineups are done. And we were literally standing there for I don't know, a half hour.
Yeah,
But I think some of that is due to what you said, the driver showing up late, stuff like that.
because it does take time to type all their information into the system.
But everybody was rusty a little bit.
Yeah.
Is it going to be as late as it was this week, next week? Absolutely not.
I hope not. 'Cause
No.
that was final flag. The final checkered flag waved at about 12:35, 12:40, and I want to say it again, I was really surprised at the amount of people that stuck around that late. With as chilly as it was, but it was a good mod race.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Finally got to see Jesse Sobing finish a race.
What'd you think of him?
I thought he was really good. I think he finished right where he should have. I think he had about the second to third best car there.
So you know who I talked to at Eagle last night? Chris Abelson.
Yeah.
He's like, did I run away with that? Yeah, you were in your own time code.
He definitely had about a 1/10 to 2/10 on Sobing every lap, and Bub Lorette did really well. It was really, really interesting, and we'll break it all down this week on Sling and Dirt. Definitely we'll talk about a lot of that stuff and a lot of the racing we've seen this weekend. Shall we get to Talladega?
There's a race.
The Aaron's 499 in Alabama. The rain-delayed Aaron's 499, the highest rated, longest sports coverage in history. Now,
really? Oh, yeah, because they had that rain out, or that rain delay.
It was about an 8-hour broadcast.
Yeah, because you and I were sitting over at Quaker Steak and Lube. I was hey, Quaker Steak and Lube, you've got some amazing bacon cheeseburgers. I will tell you that.
I'm surprised you actually tasted it.
I wolfed it down. And you were going to town on your Boom Boom Shrimp.
Oh, I love that stuff.
Boom Boom Shrimp and your Samuel Adams, I believe. But
yeah,
Talladega, that was a hell of a race. Wow.
I was very happy to see that it wasn't a repeat of Daytona, which I really wasn't expecting it, but you're worried at a super speedway that it may be single file. There was a point in the race when everyone did kind of get a little single file racing.
Well, you're going to have that from time to time.
Right. There was good side-by-side racing. I thought it was very good racing. Unfortunately, Mother Nature intervened and ruined our viewership. So, but the race was pretty low on viewers, but that was to be expected as everyone kind of anticipated rain, and it got pretty late. And something I'd mentioned to you, I was really surprised at this. I guess really surprised isn't the right words, but I guess I assumed Talladega would have a lighting system. But after talking with Pat Warren, and when they spent, he said, I think it was over $1 million putting a lighting system in it.
Imagine Kansas, what that place would cost.
Holy cow! To light Talladega, not just to install it, but to pay that electrical bill.
Come on, we're in Alabama. If we need a lighting system, son, we'll just go down there with our headlights, shine them on the track, and we'll watch them boys go around track.
I want to laugh at you for being a redneck, but they've done that before in NASCAR. I believe it was at Rockingham years and years ago. This isn't the modern era. This was in like the 60s. But yeah, I would like to make fun of you for being a redneck on that, but you're absolutely right. Top 10 for Talladega. Eric Almirola gets himself another top 10 finish. Scott Speed. You're going to hear a lot of these guys that aren't typically in the top 10, top 15. Because the two big ones, took out a lot of our big time contenders. And I don't want to say it's easier at Talladega, but your chances of a mid-level team winning the race are much better. And we saw that with our winner. 7th place, Matt Kenseth. Martin Truex Jr. comes home. I'm sorry, Matt Kenseth 8th. Martin Truex Jr. 7th. Regan Smith 6th. Johnson 5th. Michael Waltrip 4th. Carl Edwards 3rd. David Gilliland 2nd.
David who?
Yeah, David Gilliland 2nd, giving his teammate David Reagan one heck of a push at the end there and pushing Reagan out to the win. Front Row Motorsports, their first win in their team's history, also their first 1-2 finish, and a big boost for that team. I know in the off week, or in the middle of the week, they were able to pick up several sponsors that they were able to bring to the Bojangles 500.
And I'm sure they're not exactly one of the most well-funded teams. They got to be on the lower end of the funding for the teams.
Not lower end. They're mid-class. They're up there. They're probably in the same area as Furniture Row Racing. They're funded. They don't have the best research and development, but they don't have the best relationships like what Furniture Row has with Richard Childress. But they do have relationships, and they're able to get a 1-2 finish out of Talladega. That's
I bet there was a party going on that night.
$500,000 payday for that team.
Yeah.
That's big time. That is very big time. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk the appeals process, and we'll talk about the results last night at the Bojangles Southern 500. I smile every time. We'll be right back. It's the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609, 308-383-9609.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he's talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
It's time to check out what all the dirt drivers already know. Joe's Karting is the Metro's best place to go for kart racing, where the only speed restriction is how good you are, reaching up to 45 miles per hour while twisting and turning through a 25,000 square foot building. Joe's Karting is sure to raise your heart rate. It's time to find out how fast your knuckles will turn white. Located in Council Bluffs, just north of Bass Pro and next to AMC Theaters. Online at joeskarting.com. Get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
We're working the high line into turn 2 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Did you forget where we were?
I did. Turn 2 brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, 51st and I Street, 731-4592. I wonder if they have any sport mod doors they can get you.
Funny. It was on this for the listeners out there. If you've never seen my car, it's got a great big Yosemite Sam on each side of the car, and it says, "Get a going, or I'll blow your doors off, varmint." How ironic is it that the door off is one of my doors I blew off, and then to come to find out I was DQ'd in the feature. Well, I thought I was DQ'd in the feature. The car that was right behind me got started late in the race, so they tried to DQ him and get him off the track. Well, I thought the DQ was for me, so I came off the track, and I was like, I get home, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, and one of the track officials go, "Bud, we weren't DQing you. We were DQing the car behind you for the late start." I was like, "You gotta be kidding me."
Pulled off a good finish to just take it home early, I guess.
Yeah.
In the middle of the week, we heard the appeal process for Joe Gibbs Racing and Penske Racing. Tuesday was Penske Racing. Wednesday was Joe Gibbs Racing. To break it down pretty simply, they lowered the fines for both teams.
Good.
And honestly, I'm very mixed about the Joe Gibbs fine, because I can easily make the argument that it was TRD's fault. 100% TRD's fault. But we have an atmosphere in the sport of, you bring it, you're responsible for it, right?
I agree with that statement, but that's
the major argument. You bring it, you're responsible for it. But
common sense.
There's contracts between Joe Gibbs Racing and TRD that says Joe Gibbs Racing cannot open those engines up.
Right.
Because that could compromise the engine. That could, it could do something to where TRD says, we send it to you, you guys do not touch it. And NASCAR, the appeals process apparently, agreed with that. Originally, 50-point fine for Joe Gibbs as the owner of the car, 50-point fine for Matt Kenseth, 7-race suspension for Jason Ratcliffe, $200,000 fine. He did not get to use the win at Kansas as a bonus for the chase.
Is this the original setup?
This is the original fine,
okay.
Correct. This is how it stood originally. He did not get to use the pole qualifying as his qualifying for the Sprint Showdown, or the Sprint Unlimited in Daytona 2014. Now that essentially got null and void when he got the pole next weekend. But as the appeals process came through, the appeals panel said, we do agree that TRD is responsible, so 12-point fine for Joe Gibbs, 12-point fine for Matt Kenseth, 1 race suspension, which is why you didn't see Jason Ratcliffe on the box last night. So he'll be back this weekend for the Sprint All-Star race. $200,000 fine stayed, which confuses me. I don't know. But we'll get into that. And then he does get the bonus points back.
The $200,000 fine stayed.
Yes. Yeah, that's... Now, I think everyone can assume. Now, we know what assuming does. It just makes it, whatever. But that Jason Ratcliffe's not paying that fine. Joe Gibbs Racing's not paying that fine. I'm pretty sure TRD is going to go ahead and pay that fine.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is it's not going to line the pockets of NASCAR. It goes towards the NASCAR Foundation. So it's going towards a good cause. And maybe that has something to do with it.
You remember back...
But that's a little confusing. You're going to lower everything else, but you're still going to give a monetary fine to the crew chief.
I think the monetary fine is a little too extreme and harsh in this opinion.
Yeah. I think this was a very harsh fine.
But I think, in my opinion, there's no way in hell you can tell me that they shouldn't have reduced everything down to nothing and just let them walk away because it wasn't their fault. Honestly, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, where you bring it, you're responsible for it, but this was not their fault that the motor was like this. With that being said, I think I kind of liken this to what they did with Jimmy Johnson with the C-pillars being, I think it was at Kansas last year.
No, it was at Daytona.
At Daytona. They were going to DQ him on all this and all that, suspended him, then they came back and said, well, yeah, we're gonna overturn that. I think this is an instance, once again, of NASCAR trying to set stiff penalties to make an example out of a driver, just to come back so they don't lose faith and say, okay, we're gonna give you a penalty, we're gonna drop it, we're gonna give you somewhat of a penalty.
Well, the hole in that the hole in that is that Matt Kenseth, that is 100% illegal, no question about it. The problem with Jimmy Johnson's was that was a little bit of a gray area. It wasn't a well-defined portion of the rule book. Matt Kenseth was, and that's the reason why they came down on him so hard. But where NASCAR really needs to make sure the TRD Joe Gibbs relationship is they're one of a kind, 100%. Everybody else, Richard Childress, who builds their engines, they have their race shop and their engine department are in the same building. Hendrick, same thing. Ganassi, same thing.
DEI.
As to where, right, Earnhardt Ganassi, who builds engines for Chip Ganassi Racing. But TRD builds their engines in California. So, if NASCAR was to go completely toothless and wipe this fine away, what's to say Rick Hendrick doesn't go out there and start racking up their engines, and then when NASCAR catches them, Rick says, well, it wasn't my team that did it, it was the engine department, so you have to fine the engine department and not the team. There's 3 other engine manufacturers out there that were watching this very carefully to see, is there any way we can squeeze in a couple more horsepower, a little bit more of an advantage because of the way this came out? And I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the rule books.
I see what you're saying with this.
NASCAR really has to penalize a lot of their stuff based on, and I think so, maybe not, but and you can account to this too, because I'm pretty sure there's dirt drivers that watch the IMCA fines to go, oh, they fined him this way, huh?
We would never.
Yeah, I know. Let's talk about the results last night from the Bojangles Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway. No rain. Beautiful weather, beautiful conditions. 10th place, Ryan Newman. You can head to Outback tomorrow and get yourself a bloomin' onion with your purchase, a free bloomin' onion. Dale Earnhardt Jr., top 10 finish, gets himself into the 9th. Juan Pablo Montoya, another good race for him. He finishes 8th. Carl Edwards 7th. Kyle Busch 5th. Kyle Busch 6th, Kevin Harvick 5th, Johnson 4th, Gordon 3rd, Denny Hamlin 2nd, and Matt Kenseth gets the win. This team is absolutely on fire with Matt Kenseth. I'm fairly certain he is the only one that has anything for Jimmy Johnson right now.
If I'm Jimmy Johnson, I was looking at the points before we went on air. Jimmy Johnson's got I believe a 44-point lead right now.
Yep.
But if you're Matt Kenseth, are you feeling pretty confident and just kind of, you want to go out there and win, but are you feeling pretty confident going into the chase right now?
I think they've got stagger. They've got a little swagger going.
Do you think Jimmy is like,
no,
oh boy?
I don't think Jimmy Johnson's scared of anybody, honestly. I don't think Jimmy Johnson's scared of anybody. What's going against Jimmy Johnson's favor, he's got a 44-point lead right now, but we all know now Matt Kenseth has 3 wins, which he's able to use all 3 of them for bonus points. If the chase were to start right now, Matt Kenseth would be your points leader over Jimmy Johnson, who I believe
is Edwards sweating?
No, he's sitting second in the points. He's doing fine.
Yeah, but when the chase starts, they're going to rack him and stack him with just a minimal split between each position.
If the chase starts, he's about, what, 5th? No, he would be 5th because he has a win under his belt also. So he'll have some bonus points. He'd be, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Yeah, he'd be tied for 5th. 4th, tied for 4th, excuse me. So, no, I don't think you're sweating if you're Carl Edwards. It's too early in the season, but Matt Kenseth's got a fire on him.
He's got some swagger.
And he's had a heck of a week. Walking out of Talladega, he was sitting 11th in the points because the fine had not been reduced yet. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, 11th in the points, 104 points back. Points reduced, and then he's able to get the win last night. He goes up to 3rd. So that's a heck of a swing. He's right back in. He
hasn't had a hell of a week. He's had a hell of a season so far.
Oh, absolutely, definitely, totally, completely. Unfortunately for Kyle Busch, he goes 9 races in a row now without winning by leading the most laps. 9 straight races. And I think they had a cut right rear they had a cut right rear, which was the reason why he was so dominant for so long, but everyone else was able to catch up to him and settles for a 6th place.
I'm surprised
finish.
NASCAR didn't find him for having grooved tires or cut tires, siped tires.
Come on.
Well, hey, I'm just saying.
Well, they haven't fined anybody for ridiculous things. It's all been illegal modifications in the rule book. Name one, please.
TRD.
Yeah, they had a too light of a rod, connecting rod.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're going to run something over in the racetrack and sipe your tires and you ain't supposed to sipe your NASCAR tires, I guess they could DQ you for that. That's an illegal modification to a tire per rule book.
He didn't illegally modify it. He had a cut in it.
Well, did Matt Kenseth or Joe Gibbs illegally modify their motor?
No, but TRD did, and they paid the fine.
Well,
good try. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk with Leslie Scouten and Michelle Bade, mothers of drivers. We'll be right back here on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, located just north of Bass Pro. Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 200 people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team meetings, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
This week's Legend of Tomorrow on the Front Stretch is Trey Gropp, a 4th grader in Lincoln who's working on his 7th season of racing. Trey has already claimed 2 season points championships and several series points championships at Eagle Raceway's Mini E and I-80 Speedway's Little Sunset Speedway. Outside of racing, Trey enjoys hitting the gridiron for some football and working on new tricks on his BMX and dirt bikes. For the last 2 years, Trey has participated in the Lincoln ALS Walk in memory of his old friend and hero, Oscar Old Fart Hiskey. Oscar was always at the track to root Trey on and still is. Trey would like to thank Highlight Salon, a first-rate pumping services, Nature Valley Pet Food, and many more sponsors for helping to fund his dream of being a big-time dirt racer. You can catch this week's Legend of Tomorrow all summer long at Mini E and Little Sunset in the green 54 status chassis cars. Trey Gropp, this week's Legend of Tomorrow on the Front Stretch.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio. Joe'sKarting.com, Karting with a K is where you can go get all your information for booking, prices, hours, directions, everything. It's there at Joe'sKarting.com. Again, make sure it's kartingwithak.com. Joined in the studio by Leslie Scouten, mother of, you've got multiple racers in the family, don't you?
I do. Ari, Anna, and Lauren.
Okay, and then we're also on the phone with Michelle Bade, Shaylee Bade's mom, a favorite and a frequenter here on the Front Stretch. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
First off, ladies, happy Mother's Day. I hope you're enjoying your day. I know we appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Do you guys have, Leslie, do you have something scheduled with the family later on?
No, they're all spending it in the garage. So no.
Michelle, is Shaylee doing something nice for you, or is she going to be in the garage too?
Well, hopefully she won't be in the garage. Hopefully she'll do something for me.
Well, like we talked about, you two are both mothers of racers, and we figured since today is Mother's Day, the day where we sit back and say thank you to those that have raised us, I wanted to sit down and have a conversation with a couple of mothers and just talk about what it's like being a mother of a racer, because we've talked to plenty of drivers about the stresses, the fears, the joys of being a racer, but you guys have to sit in the pits and in the stands and watch it all unfold completely helpless. Is that a good way of describing it?
That's a pretty good way to describe it.
A lot of faith.
Yeah, a lot of faith, a lot of praying.
A lot of praying.
Leslie, let's start with you. You talked about you had 3 that are in the sport. Can you talk about what they're racing, how long they've been racing?
Well, I have 2 that started racing when they were 7 and 8. I had one that thought she wanted to race and had several wrecks that year and backed out.
Retired. And a year later got the guts up to do it again. So now I had 3 racing in karts.
They're in now they're in
Junior high school.
No, I just drew a blank. They just changed their class. They went to an animal motor, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's so many kart classes. I can't even keep up with them.
All 3 of them raced last year in the same class, which was very trying on the drives home. They raced in the same class, and this year they kind of all split up. But
how many times did you yell, "I'll turn this car around"?
Several times.
Or ground them because they were fighting for incidents that happened on the track.
Oh, yeah.
You mean Ari actually got a little piped up on some of those talks?
Actually, it's not Ari. It's the 2 girls.
Yeah, I can see Ari just sitting in the back seat going, okay, whatever.
Yeah, Ari just takes it.
Michelle, obviously you have Shaylee that just stepped up to the Race Saver 305s this year. How long has she been racing? If I remember correctly from the first time we talked with Shaylee, you used to race yourself, right?
No, I didn't race. Her dad did race.
Her dad did, okay.
Her dad. Yeah, Shaylee started go-karting when she was 8. And the reason why she started was because Butch's brother-in-law had a son in go-karting. So since Butch, her dad, only had 4 girls, he grabbed the tomboy, threw her in the car. She hated it for the first year, but then after that, now she can't get it out of her blood.
Don't you have a second daughter, Chantel, that races also?
Yes, Chantel is just turned 13, and she is racing go-kart. And she is just about like Shaylee.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, kind of a bad thing. She used to have that one good wreck where she has a little bit more respect for it out there, but she hasn't had it in 2 years.
Yeah.
But she's a pretty good driver. She's been watching Shaylee pretty close. And then Mariah, she's my 16-year-old. She races off and on. She's a cheerleader, so when cheerleading competition is done, then she can start racing go-kart. She'll be back on the track.
You guys make your way around the tracks all throughout the country. Leslie, talk for a second, if you could. We'll start with kind of the more stressful periods of it all. Has there been a moment when you really wanted to just grab them by the neck and say you're done?
Oh, yeah, but that's more involved with grades and respect. Yeah. When they cross that line, that's my best leverage.
We've talked about that with the Legends of Tomorrow, the series that we're doing, and a lot of these drivers are doing very well in school because do you credit that to racing?
Very much so.
And you're able to hold that as a level of, okay, you drop down to a C average and your butt's coming out of the seat?
Well, I tend to give my kids their choices of punishment. So when they cross that line, whether it be saying something wrong or doing something wrong, I always throw in there the car.
Yeah.
And inevitably, the other punishment is much worse than taking the car away, but in their mind, they'll take that more severe punishment. So
my dad's way of making me choose my punishment was going out and picking the switch to get whipped with.
Ooh, I remember those.
That one's a little too big. That one you're going to make me come back out here for.
That one bends just right.
Yeah. Michelle, what about you? Have you ever had to use racing as a carrot for some of the girls?
Well, when Shaylee got a little bit older, yes, we did. But during school, nah, not so much. She wasn't that much of a person in school. But Chantel, we will probably use that.
We talked about how Shaylee just stepped up this year to 305s. How nerve-wracking is that?
Well, At first I didn't quite understand it, but then a couple of weeks before, she goes, Mom, I hired a photographer. And I said, well, why I do that? Mom, I hired someone to videotape. Well, I do that. Now what am I going to do? Mom, you're not going to want to do any of that. Well, why? Well, it's very nerve-wracking, Mom. There's a lot of wrecks. I just looked at her like, seriously? You're not supposed to wreck. Keep off 4 wheels on the floor, on the ground. So she took all my responsibilities away, so I don't know what I'm going to do except for chew my nails.
Are you going to be in the stands or are you going to be in the pits?
I'll probably be in the pits.
So between Chantel and the 2 other girls, even though they're driving totally different classes in cars, do you hear a lot of, well, I did better than you. Well, no, you didn't. I did better than you. No, you didn't. Do you hear a lot of that?
Oh, yeah, with these 2 younger ones, the 13-year-old and the 16-year-old, yeah. The 13-year-old's really bad on the 16-year-old. Well, the 16-year-old doesn't race as much as the 13-year-old, so she's got a little upper hand on Mariah. But, yeah, but now Mariah's going to be racing adults, so they won't be in the same class.
Leslie, how about you?
Yeah, I'm agreeing. That's a lot of what the arguments are, is trying to decipher where the faults were instead of having them point the finger at each other. That's what our drive homes are, is listening to them bicker in the back. However, it got better as the season went on. They started to gain a little more respect for each other.
I want to interject that has nothing to do with kids and siblings. I listened to Buddy and Andrew fight about the exact same thing all season last year. Bud's like, well, I finished 6th at Denison, and Andrew's like, well, I finished 8th at I-80, and Bud's like, well, mine's one better, and Andrew's, well, I had more cars out on the track, and I'm a late model driver. Well, oh, God.
They're never going to grow out of it, is what you're saying.
No.
You know, one serious question. I want to ask this to you, Leslie, and Michelle. A lot of kids, and these are good sports. They play a lot of football, basketball, volleyball, and whatnot. And then I don't know in your experience, in my experience, I've been heard, well, you do racing. What in the world can you possibly learn or get out of racing? What do you have to tell the other parents out there when they see your kids being involved in racing, maybe not necessarily volleyball? What's the benefit of being involved in racing?
Well, they do have to have a lot of respect.
Yes.
For the drivers, their equipment, their safety, and the people in the pit crew. They can't throw their helmet down on the ground and walk off and stomp off.
You hit that right on the head.
That's what I told Shaylee. I will pull you off the track if I ever see you do that.
Have you ever had to step up and be the parent that defends their child? I mean, I've seen it in the Cup circuit when Brad Keselowski's dad said he was going to go whoop up on Carl Edwards. We've seen parents, even up on the Cup circuit, that have gotten involved and said, they're not going to hurt my boy, they're not going to hurt my girl. Have you had to do that, where you've had to go and talk to maybe another parent or another driver?
My blood is fueled, but it hasn't gotten escalated to that point. Same as she was saying, we'll tend to, if it's unintentional that a car will rub or hit, we always make our kids get out and go apologize to that family, so that they keep that.
Imagine that, a driver apologizing for doing something wrong.
Why are you looking at me?
I've never heard of this concept.
Like I said, it's unintentional.
It's the young blood coming up in today's sport.
It's good to see they got a good upbringing. Talking with Leslie Scouten and Michelle Abade, both mothers of drivers in local dirt track circuits. Talking to them because, of course, today is Mother's Day, and again, happy Mother's Day to you guys. And you guys both seem to. I haven't met Leslie, your children yet, but I've spent some time with Shaylee, and a good girl has a good head on her shoulders, and I'd like to credit a lot of that to racing and to be able to have a carrot to go to, if it be racing or maybe a music career or something like that.
Well, I think Michelle hit it right on the head. In football and baseball, we can take the helmets off, throw them at the ground, stomp off, and go pout. In racing, you can't do that. When it comes to football, baseball, basketball, you can get a strike or a field goal or whatever. You make one mistake, you just get another down. You make one mistake, you can just, pass the ball to somebody else. In racing, we make a mistake, someone can get killed. So, I think racing teaches these kids so much more in life, teams, about teamwork, respect, business practices, stuff like that. In both your guys' case, and Leslie, I'll let you go first on this, where do you see your kids going from, 5 years from now?
Well, Ari, he eats, sleeps, and breathes racing. So he's had it planned for years. And he's going to go on. He wants to do something in school with alternative fuels. I don't know. I think the other two, the younger two, might do this more as a recreational, but Ari is more really toned. I mean, what he's already picking are colleges that are going to be somewhere centrally located amongst all the dirt tracks. This is his focus. So
he's Googling the distance between dirt tracks and college.
He knows it's somewhere in Iowa. That's all he knows.
And isn't he going for an engineering degree?
Yeah, he wants mechanical engineering.
How old is he?
He's 14.
And he already knows that.
He's had that in his head since he was a little kid.
I don't think I decided.
Well, not mechanical engineering, but he knew that it was something along with designing cars. So,
Michelle, how about you?
I see Shelly in 5 years, probably moving to North Carolina and mommy following.
Go down to the racing central of the world.
Yes, that's what she's been dreaming about doing. And right now she's painting cars, so she loves doing that. She loves being a mechanic and learning all the things with cars. So I think that's pretty good for her. She enjoys painting. She does it pretty well, too, for not having any education on that.
I do want to say at the 2013 World of Wheels here in Omaha, when she had her sprint car in there, drivers, if you want an amazing-looking front bumper and steering wheel, go see Shaylee Bade. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, seriously, it's not a paint job. The steering wheel, it's a piece of art.
Is it a? She did her helmet too.
Oh, see, I didn't see her helmet, but yeah, it's all hand painted and whatnot. Oh, wow. It's amazing. So I mean, and these aren't kids that are rich kids getting spoiled. I mean, they got to work every ounce of it. I know at the World of Wheels, Leslie, boy, poor Ari, I was tough on him.
You needed to be. He's 14. He's at that age where he doesn't know where to put his hands. So he's learning, do I put him in the pockets? Do I shake the hand? Do I, but our whole family was there. I mean, the girls were handing out, bracelets and flyers. And so they're all supporting him.
Proudest moment as a mom. Leslie, what's your proudest moment?
You know what? It's just that my kids are at this age with my kids, I am absolutely loving it. And I keep hearing you're going to be ready to throw them out. I haven't had that point yet. I mean, I have great kids. I really do.
Michelle, what about you? What's your proudest moment as a racing mom?
Anytime she crosses that finish line.
Oh. Upright.
Good answer. Good answer. On all fours. On all four wheels.
All fours.
Yes.
We've been talking with Leslie Scouten and Michelle Bade, both moms of drivers in the local circuit. Shaylee is your driver. What race number is she racing? I haven't even seen her car yet. Of the 305.
305 is a 03.
The 03. Out at Eagle every week.
The Army car.
Yeah.
Great looking car.
The Army car.
And that's something that she talked about. She doesn't accept sponsorship from Army. That's something she does just to honor the troops.
Honor the troops, and I've been in the military for 31 years.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, I think I remember that now that you mentioned it. She mentioned that during the interview last time.
Yeah, I'll retire this fall.
Oh, what's that going to be like?
I don't know what I'm going to do with myself, but now that Shaylee's moved out, I got about 3 bedrooms to paint and redecorate, and I could only keep her for an extra year. I tried to keep her longer, but that didn't work.
Your to-do list is building, huh?
Yeah, it is building.
Michelle, Leslie, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
Real quick before we go, as mothers, come on, let's promote our kids here. You guys have websites or anything for your kids?
We are trying to promote Ari. This is going to be his first year going into the B-Mods. So we have developed a website and looking for more sponsorship, but his is 99reracing.com.
Is it R-E as in the
letter R,
okay.
The letter
Because I know his
E.
name is spelled A-R-I-E.
You're right.
Okay.
But he chose to use 99RE as his number as a play.
I love that name.
So 99reracing.com.
What about you, Michelle? Where can people get more information about Shaylee?
I think her website is Shaylee Bade 03, and she's just now starting to get her website up. She's got her sister writing on it when she starts racing. But that's up and running now. When they get more information, they'll be putting more stuff down there. And she's looking for more sponsors and people to help her out.
What about the other two? Do they have websites or?
No, not yet. I'm sure Chantel will follow because she's already starting to get recognized.
Yeah.
She was at Gateway one day. Mom, that guy knows me. Oh, why? Well, he said he saw me racing. She just looked at me like shocked. I said, Chantel, so people were watching you race. Now, you need to be good so people see the good part, you know. You be good in public, too.
Exactly.
That's a good lesson right there.
Maybe you could give the Bush brothers a call.
There you go.
Or maybe call Brad Keselowski and explain to him how to effectively use Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might have to set up a little bit of a sit down with you mothers and some of those guys up on the dirt series. Or up on the asphalt.
Yeah, proper etiquette.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We greatly appreciate it. Hope you two have a great Mother's Day, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Leslie Scouten and Michelle Bade, both mothers of drivers locally. We'll be right back to wrap up the show. Turn forward just around the corner. It's the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
For 50 years, Eagle Raceway has been pushing the limits of dirt track racing. Weekly Saturday night racing features the Midwest's best battling at the fastest third-mile track in the Midwest. Gates open at 5:30 with a green flag at 6:30 for IMCA modified, sport compacts, hobby stocks, sport mods, and Race Saver sprint cars. $10 for adults, $5 for youth 6 to 12 years old, and kids under 6 get in free. Located just 10 minutes east of Lincoln on Highway 34 and online at eagleraceway.com.
It's time to check out what all the dirt drivers already know. Joe's Karting is the Metro's best place to go for kart racing, where the only speed restriction is how good you are, reaching up to 45 miles per hour while twisting and turning through a 25,000 square foot building. Joe's Karting is sure to raise your heart rate. It's time to find out how fast your knuckles will turn white. Located in Council Bluffs, just north of Bass Pro and next to AMC Theaters. Online at joeskarting.com. Get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the Front Stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Just about ready to wrap it up. Taking the High Line out of Turn 4. You're going to take the checkers here shortly. Your calls at 402-573-0590. The Front Stretch powered by the official watering hole of the Front Stretch, Quaker Steak and Lube. Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs. It's in that same area as Joe's Karting, is Bass Pro Shop.
Yep.
Get down onto South 24th Street exit where the corn-looking bridge thingy, and get over there and get some great food at Quaker Steak and Lube. This weekend, get back to Joe's Karting and get the racing in as they get racing back going weekly. So we want to say thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube. They've got all the NASCAR action plus all the sporting action on all their big screens, hot wings, burgers, great beer specials. Let's head over to the lines. We've got Ava and Trey Gropp in Lincoln. Guys, thanks for calling into the Front Stretch. How you doing?
Good.
What were you guys wanting to talk about this morning?
How old were you? We want to talk about go-kart racing.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, buddy, how old were you when you started racing?
I was actually 18 years old. It was 1994. I midtermed in high school, and instead of walking down the graduation aisle, I went racing instead and haven't looked back. Now, at your guys' level, and Dan, these Trey and Ava Gropp here, these kids are not to be taken lightly. I mean, right. Ava's too tough to tame. Too tough to tame Ava. And, well, Trey, you better not take him lightly because he'll eat you up. But, the first time I started racing a go-kart, I was a proud 37 years old.
Yeah, it was just last year, the year before,
and Ava kicked my butt.
Ava and Trey, have you guys raced this year yet?
Yeah, we have.
How have you guys been doing?
Good. This Friday night, I got, second, and Ava finished fifth, we think. And
we think.
Are you waiting for any fines and penalties that come out from NASCAR or Eagle, I guess?
Last time, we're in the same class now, but last time I got second behind Trey.
Oh, so Trey got the win?
Yes.
Well, good. Thanks so much for calling in, guys. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah. Hey, buddy, do you like racing on or do you like racing a cage kart on the dirt track?
Your dad had you ask me that, didn't he? Let's just, yeah.
You can hear it.
Yeah. It was the hardest thing I think I've ever driven.
Yeah. I think that was you that mentioned that those things are so hard to drive because there's no suspension.
I don't care. You know, here's beautiful little Ava, 6, 7 years of age, blonde sweetheart. And you're like, well, if she can drive that, I can drive that. I will tell you right now, proportionally, body size to power to weight ratio, Ava driving that cage car is kicking my rear end all over the track in my sport mod. Well, I'll tell you that right now. She's good.
She's got a little talent behind her. All right, Trey and David, thanks for calling in. You guys have a good Mother's Day.
Thank you.
All right, let's head over to Holly on line 2. Holly, you got a question for Buddy, don't you?
Yes, I do. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have a question. I have a couple. First of all, the serious part. If somebody wants to sponsor you, is there a website where generally the racers are all on there and they have a list of what they need sponsored? You know, because a lot of people think, I have to sponsor the entire car, when really you can sponsor just parts of what the racing team needs.
To my knowledge, I don't think there is.
There's no
like a Craigslist for
right.
Okay.
I mean, it's a quick, easy way for people, that say, I can afford, $200 a month. Can they use that in gas? This is my racer,
That's a good idea there. You might want to market that.
Well,
I'm
not
heading to
in it
GoDaddy
for the
right
money.
now.
So, so you might want to put that in your pocket and think about it. And then one of my other questions, it's a chick question, so get ready. But a lot of people have this question.
Lord.
Where do the NASCAR racers pee at?
Our production guy over here just about fell off the stool.
I have not heard
a lot of
good.
People have this question. It should be on Mythbusters, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, when you go to like the Coca-Cola. When you go to the Coca-Cola 600, I think it was either Tony Stewart or somebody else.
Please don't say a bottle.
No.
It's actually a little bit more disturbing than that.
I think there's a system set up a lot like astronauts have.
No.
They pee their pants.
No, they will pee their pants. I've heard of it.
I know Tony has lost it in his pants at Watkins Glen because of a stomach flu, but.
No, they actually, in dirt track racing, our features are only, 20 to 100 laps.
Right.
But even on the dirt, I've had, in the last 20 years of racing, I've seen and heard of guys just
going in their pants.
Wow. I would hate to be the dry cleaner. When you're in the Coca-Cola 600 and you're racing for 4.5, 5 hours, you can't exactly just come in. Because when you're out there and you're racing and you're dehydrating because you're sweating and whatnot, naturally your body wants to relieve itself. So if you got to go pee, well, you can't exactly make a pit stop to go pee real quick. So guess where you're going.
So do you think they wear a Depend, or do you think
actually that it sounds funny to say that, but it wouldn't shock me as a precautionary measure maybe if they didn't
for that one race
for that one race or something.
I've had a lot of speculation on this, and I've asked this question before, believe it or not, and nobody actually has a concrete yes definite answer on this, which is funny to me because a lot of people have this question. So
right.
That maybe that'll have to be a topic for your next show to say, hey, guess what we found out.
I tell you what, when we go down to Kansas this year, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
It'll be the Holly question.
Absolutely. I mean, it should be because I was the one brave enough to ask it.
There you go. You got any more questions, Holly?
I don't, other than I want to say, thanks for paying it forward with the black flag last night, Buddy Ray. I was so angry when I thought you got black flagged, and when I found out that it wasn't really meant for you, I was actually relieved, but I had to laugh for about 5 minutes.
You were relieved. Imagine how I felt.
I don't think relief is what Bud's feeling right now.
And last night was my first time at Eagle. I wanted to go for like a Mother's Day thing, and loved it. The fans are great. I loved seeing all the kids, but I really wish that I didn't have to go to the pits to buy the racers, gear.
Yeah. Well, you mean like set up somewhere outside?
Yeah, so I don't have to go to the.
Did you go to the souvenir stand right behind the grandstands?
Well, where they have all the Eagle Raceway stuff.
Okay, but you didn't. Drivers can actually put their stuff up there, but I hadn't been up there yet this year. I know probably starting next week I'll have some of my swag up there in the souvenir stand.
Because I was too cold to go to the pits last night after the race. I mean, it was freezing, but all the people that stuck it out, man, that was awesome. It makes you stay because, you can't be the first one to chicken out and leave.
Exactly.
What was your favorite feature last night? Being a new fan of Eagle, I'd really like to pick your brain on this.
Well, I was born in Knoxville, Iowa, so I love the sprint.
What'd you think of the sprints in particular?
Well, it was interesting to see them on such a small track. And it was also very interesting to see somebody get out there without a wing. I was like, are they really going to let that happen? But they did. But I guess he was just trying to get some time on the track. But I really like the sprints just because it's a smaller area and they get more congested. And unfortunately, sprint car racing is also about the wrecks.
Yep.
And so you go, thank God everybody's okay, but you're like, oh my God, did you see that?
So you're used to a 360 or a 410 sprint if you're coming from Knoxville.
Yeah, fast.
So they were fast last night, right?
Yeah.
What would you say if I told you those were not 360s or 410s, but 305 Race Saver engines?
Well, they're all 305.
Yep. But you're saying as a sprint car fan, are you saying that you actually like the races that those Race Saver sprints put on?
Well, I loved it because everybody has the same advantage.
Exactly. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper for the drivers.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Holly, thank you so much for your call. We greatly appreciate it, and we thank you for your support. Hope to see you out the track sometime soon.
Yep, we sure will.
All right. That was Holly. A couple of good questions. We have a couple more minutes left in the show. If you want to get in, 402-573-0590. The Sprint All-Star Race has been locked. And we're going to be Sprint Cup racing, All-Star Racing tomorrow night. Next Saturday night. This time next week, one driver will be walking away with a cool $1 million in their pocket.
I was thinking about this race already. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite races.
It is. I really like it. Sorry.
Do you think Matt Kenseth is going to want to really stand out at this race? Because back when he was first DQ'd with the whole TRD issue, they were taking that away, and I believe they were saying that, well, you're not going to be eligible right now for the All-Star race.
He would have been.
He
still would have been.
All right.
In order to qualify for the Sprint All-Star race, you have to have won a Sprint Cup championship in the last 10 years.
Okay, he's got that.
Won an All-Star race in the last 10 years.
Does he have that?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, he does. In 2004, he won the All-Star race. You have to have won a race in the last year. So between 2012 and the first 10 races in 2013, you have to have won those. If you don't have those qualifiers, then you go into the Sprint Showdown, which is the top two of those two showdowns get into the race.
I tell you what, the All-Star race is great, but I think those showdowns are actually they're just as good as the main race.
And they've changed up the format again this year to make sure that somebody like the first segment winner, because it's 5 full segments, 5 full segments. It's 4 qualifying segments and then a 5th final segment. And whoever wins that first segment, last year they just drove to the back of the pack and just took it easy. Well, they've changed it now. It's the average finish of the top 4 finishers. So if Johnson does what he did last year, which is he won the first one, then went to the back, he would no longer start on the pole position. He would start 4th because he had the worst of the average finishes of the winners.
Ooh, so they're making you earn it.
Exactly. Now, because the thing is they don't want anybody hanging out. Yeah. They want action the entire time. If only they can get that all race long.
And that's all on Saturday?
All on Saturday night. It's going to be a great time. $1 million for the winner. I'm really excited to see that.
Are you going to QSL Saturday night? Boom Boom Strip, a lube tube?
I believe I will be.
Really?
I believe I will be. You'll be at Eagle.
Yep,
right?
I'll be at Eagle.
And we will be live next Saturday morning again to do it all as we have done the last couple of weeks.
Tell you what, I'm loving this call-in.
Yeah, I'm liking the live shows. It's a lot less work for me.
What'd you think of, well, Holly had some good questions, and I really wanted to pick her brain about sprint car racing, being a fan, and, Trey and Ava, they're oh yeah.
Yeah, it's great to hear from the listeners. We really appreciate it. Make sure today, if you want to get down to the official watering hole of the Front Stretch, Quaker Steak and Lube, it's in Council Bluffs. We'll be back next weekend to do it again. It's the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609, 308-383-9609.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he's talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kasiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kasiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.